Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh and I'm chatting with director Gavin Fitzgerald about his documentary Million Dollar Pigeons. So Million Dollar Pigeons, oh my God, they're fabulous. I didn't know they existed until I saw your documentary.
Did it change your opinion of pigeons?
Oh yeah, I have a local pigeon club at the corner of my road, and I was always very sus. Like at the very beginning, you don't know what it is. It's a load of owl fellas mostly coming in with vans and then taking boxes out of the back of it, and it's mysterious. And then someone tells you it's a pigeon club, and then you're like, oh wow, they exist. But actually now, like I've you hear of a few people that have pigeons, and it's a wonderful film. And it's not by any means like a small local film. It's like a global industry, and you've captured it so well across all levels. So what drew you to pigeons?
Thank you. I mean, I suppose what drew me was probably just the characters. Even that, like the first time I went to a pigeon club, just the atmosphere. A lot of those guys, they're like, and it tends to be men, and older men, as you said. It's their outlet, it's their everything. They'd like it to be their vocation. It's their hobby. It's their Friday night. A lot of them actually, might have escaped things like not going to the pub. It's a way of getting away from that. So a group of men, they'll come together, bring their pigeons down, and they just kind of rip it out of each other. They slag each other. They have arguments over this and that, and who won this race and that race, and who owes who a fiver. And yeah, I just thought there was a really great story in that. But as you said, the film is international, so in order to kind of give it in order for the film to go wider, I heard about this race in South Africa called the South African Million Dollar Pigeon Race, and that was kind of the aha moment. It was like, okay, that's the kind of glue of this narrative is this international sort of pigeon Olympics.
And I don't want to comment because there's twists and there's turns that you would not expect to be like, you kind of think, oh, this is like an underdog story, or, unlikely characters, and you just capture the process. But there's a lot of drama in this world.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment with pigeon fanciers, because it means everything to them. So, and small details, they can win you or lose your race. And but yeah, the particular year we captured it, it was dramatic. Probably the pandemic, which caused us a lot of production problems, and Venom films as well. Was a factor, but there was just a lot went wrong, and it's adversity, and that kind of adversity is something you welcome in filmmaking, even if at the time there was times where you're thinking, how am I going to actually make this now? But yeah, we managed to persevere, and I think probably the film ultimately benefits from that.
You get the kind of heart of the human element of the story and what it means to somebody on a personal level and a very local scale, but then you do capture like the madness that is the industry and the competitive nature there and what's on the line. And but back to basics, how did you know pigeons were the way to go for this film, because it's a very different subject matter from your previous work?
I wanted to do something different, definitely. And I always like kind of offbeat topics and weird worlds and that kind of thing. So I felt at home with pigeons. I also really like animals, actually, and there was a lot I didn't know about the pigeon, and when I kind of found out more about it and started to look at it differently, I thought that was interesting. And so it's definitely a topic I'm interested in, is the interaction between animals and humans. And pigeons were the first ever domesticated bird, so they have this centuries of long relationship with humans. I mean, that's why they're so calm when you see them on the street, and they kind of just bobble out of the way, because they're so used to being around humans, and they inhabit every city around the world. They seem ubiquitous to most, but pigeon fanciers, they look at a pigeon and they see so much more than we see. And I've looked at a lot of pigeons now, and I can't figure it out. But they look at a pigeon, they look in the eye, the vitality of the eye, they look at the wings, they really they really gawk at them, and they feel their muscle and their bellies and their beaks, and they all have this kind of thing they're looking for, which they like. So yeah, it is a weird niche scene, and also I think it's quite it's a really interesting thing to film. It's difficult because film a pigeon on the ground is easy. Once they're up in the sky, it's they're free really. And so it was kind of had to come up with some creative solutions for filming the racing aspect. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just kind of it just changed my perception of an animal. So that's probably why I was drawn to the subject.
And tell me a little bit about what was your way in, like who kind of brought you into that world? It does seem to be like, like you'd have your little cliques in it as well. Like one of the very interesting things was the competitiveness. There was like one of your subjects was kicked out of a pigeon fanciers club for being too good.
Yeah, there's I mean, there's just so many characters in that world. So like that was probably the biggest. The thing took the longest time was to find the right balance to the casting. So Venom Films were great at that. Just going through the process. Catherine McGrath was a researcher on the project as well. Really helped finding those. And these guys, they're not like, they don't have websites generally, or if they do, they're from the 1980s. So it's all about phone calls, and funnily enough, like house phones, so I was ringing house phones, talking to pigeon fanciers, trying to find the best stories, the best characters. And there's quite a few. It's quite a collection, but I feel like it reflects what's going on in the pigeon industry. And we do move from Thailand to Belgium to Ireland to the UK. It's to South Africa. It's quite a collection of countries, but they're all kind of in some ways chasing the same thing, which is like to establish themselves as either the best so and so in pigeon racing. So yeah, it was, there's definitely an eclectic bunch of characters in the film.
I think what you do very interesting as well as balance the narrative. So you have just like a kind of Dublin lad kind of describing what it means to him, how important this is in his life, how he enjoys it, how it integrates with his world. So we kind of are very much so drawn into the world through that way, and then we get an overview of all of society. But how did you find each of those people? Was like, again, it's kind of almost like a spider's web of narratives where they're kind of like they're all adjacent and touching in this very light way. How do you as a documentary maker decide who's going to be the best person to talk to?
Yeah, it's a good question, because that's what I was saying, probably took the longest time to figure out, and we really did talk to a lot of people. So you're kind of getting a board out and you're putting them down, and even though you might have 20 good characters, maybe only 5 or 6 seem to link in different ways. So you're thinking that before you even before you go to shoot it, before you go to the editing room. I suppose like the race was something that like we tried to get everyone who was going to be involved in this high stakes $1 million pigeon race, but then things changed in the narrative and we had to kind of adapt, and that was kind of unforeseen, but it felt natural in the end, and yeah, we ended up featuring characters from Thailand who were really different and interesting, and I actually had to film that whole section remotely, so I wasn't there myself. I didn't get to go to Thailand, which is which is strange when you think about it, but at the time we couldn't travel anywhere, and our film was halfway through production and we needed to keep going. So yeah, we I'd have a local crew there, and just like this, I'd be doing interviews on Zoom, and the camera will be there. It ultimately translates the same. Obviously, you're I can't be there the whole time, and there's calls and there's communication at all hours in the morning. But yeah, it's kind of a stressful way to make a film, but but we kind of managed to pull it off.
Something of this scale as well, like it's so big. How do you fund it? Like if you just go pigeons, you know.
Yeah, no, like it probably started its journey in terms of its funding was when we were in Meat Market in Sheffield, which is a really good sort of film market where you get kind of, it's like speed dating with all your various potential funders and sales agents and that kind of thing. And it was there that we actually we had a meeting with Dogwolf, who came on as a sales agent, and they're like a really great documentary name. You see them everywhere now. So I suppose they just kind of saw maybe the I don't know, the commercial viability of the project. You know, that they liked the quirky subject matter. So that they came on as a partner, which was great for us to just to get us on the right foot going forward.
And it has a proven track record off the back of your last huge project.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you know, yeah, I guess I've made a couple of films, as well, which helps us as a director, and then you know, working with Venom Films, they're like have a wealth of experience, so they kind of trust you. Um, but yeah, no, as I suppose also like you go to these markets, and I'm not saying that like, you know, I think it's great that there's all sorts of docs, but there can be a lot of heavy subject matter. And if you're going around as a funder and you're hearing you know, this story and that story, and you're like, oh, well, here's one about pigeons, thank God, you know. So it's nice to have the light with the lighter subject matter. Now that being said, you know, there's serious themes in the film and all that kind of thing, but yeah, you know, it is. I think I saw it on the Dogwolf website now as a comedy, and I was kind of chuffed at that because, like, it is tricky to make people laugh in a documentary. So I wanted to get as many laughs as possible because I was laughing, you know, while making this. I just find the world hilarious.
Actually, going back to that marketplace because do you know, like if you were saying it's speed dating, had you met with that production company before? Had you spend time with them? Like did they just go, I loved your last project and I had seen it, and just based off this meeting and the documents that you have in front of us, we're kind of tentatively in, let's meet again? Or is it more of a organic process?
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I guess they have a booklet and they see, and they pick they pick the meetings or pitches that they want to hear, but you only have like 5-10 minutes. So it's very much a kind of, oh, this is us, we're introducing ourselves, and we know who you are, and here's our concept. And you you know, ones where they walk away and you have a good feeling, and ones where you think there's no chance, and we had a good feeling. But you know, it didn't happen like next week. It would have happened, you know, a couple of months later or something like that, where you know, there was communication going forward. And yeah, I think a lot of people have success at those markets. So they're also a really good tool just to pitch your project, and saying it out loud, you know, makes you question everything. You get asked things that you don't expect. You get told things you don't expect. I was told that, you know, some film like that had been made before, um, things like that. And see, it's like learning data and everything kind of people would ask about a project. And so it's a really good learning process to do those markets.
And would you have always done markets, or would it just be like this is part of pitching projects and doing things of that scale? Or is it something relatively new? Like
Mm.
with your last pieces, did you just kind of rock in, go find a producer, go into Screen Ireland, look for funding? Like what is the process normally?
Yeah, well, I mean, like with this kind of celebrity film world, that the celebrity bio and that kind of thing, it operates in a different model. You know, it's just commercial in the sense that, like, if you have a big name, they know there's a guaranteed market. So you don't have to go pitching it so much. No, this does happen as well. You do pitch to people, but the funds can come a lot quicker. It's a lot easier to finance this thing. There's a lot of cogs in the wheel, money from Europe and Screen Ireland and all sorts. So it just takes a lot longer. It's the hard route, but something like the Conor McGregor one was funded by Universal, and that was just one person, and it comes with there's the check and here's the deadline. So it's a little bit mental. I this route is I prefer working in, but it is harder in the sense that like you this thing took me 4 years to make as a result. So that's tough as a filmmaker. You're kind of working for a long period of time on something and not necessarily getting paid. So yeah, but everybody has the same story when they kind of get a film to a film festival, or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you're only working on 4 years. I was working on 7 years." All these kind of stories. I'd like to meet somewhere in the middle, like to have not just here's your film due in 9 months or four. Somewhere in the middle is the balancing act which I'm going for.
Definitely. And I suppose with documentaries as well, you're like, where do you have the story? Like, so when you were shooting this and you were saying it took quite a while and there was a lot of different threads that took place over quite a
Yeah.
large amount of time as well, you can see it, like so much has changed in everyone's lives, and quite dramatically. uh so you were like, this process, do you kind of know halfway through, well, I hope the story pans out this way? I mean, again, there
Yeah.
were some things you couldn't even have ever planned for, but
Mm.
do you go, okay, well, I hope this story sort of pans out this way, and then if we get this, I'll finish filming? Or do you just go, we're going to keep filming until I get an end? Or do you edit as you go and you go, okay, well, this would be the ideal thing, but it would be nice to get that? Like, how do you sort of structure it? Because it's a very structured piece, and
Mm.
again, there's a lot of threads woven through it very well. I'm just
Yeah.
curious. Like, it's very
Yeah,
interesting.
no, well, like I mean, shout out to Andrew Hearn, the editor, as well, who's like, editors don't get enough credit in documentaries often, and we spent a lot of time, moving things around and trying different, every kind of yeah, we just had a board out and just trying all the different variations of how you might play out storylines, and it changed. It just each cut kind of we felt, well, some went backwards, but it kind of got stronger, and there was a balance. But yeah, like you definitely you need to have a plan. You have an idea where the story could go, and the arc. It's weird. An arc just kind of develops. I find with over time with someone. You go in with an idea, but something will happen, and you'll know when it's there, and you'll know there's a sudden day you get to in documentary filming, and you just know it's your last day with them, and it's like I feel like it's almost like your character and yourself arrive at that conclusion. You just both know there's just a vibe. You could be like, you could be literally saying so, signing off kind of questions and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's yeah, I think like some characters you spend a lot of time with in this film. Some of them were done in a very short period of time, and we would have used every frame nearly. Um, so it's a I'd warn filmmakers going into prospective filmmakers going into like a observational documentary trying to follow a story, because where does the story end? Like, where do you draw the line in the sand? Um, it tends to drag. I think is what I hear from other people doing it as well. It does tend to go on further than you think. But it's a beautiful process as well. And I like seeing like you can see John, the main character you mentioned, you can see his kids getting older in the film. I like seeing stuff like that. I think like ultimately being a documentary maker, it's like capturing time as well. So you do get an element of that unfolding.
And it's a total like moment in this film. But he's so passionate about his dough when he's making dough. Like, he's a man and his life has kind of, gone through all these changes. And he just, you see that childlike excitement in him, and you're like, oh, that's what he's like about the pigeons as well. Like, it must have been
Yeah.
very difficult. But like it's a beautiful moment to capture.
yeah, John does everything 100%, and everything he's doing. I have other friends like this as well, where it's like, they change their direction. It might even be an ADHD thing where like you really really get invested into something, and then you kind of the next week it's maybe something else. But yeah, the passion he has for dough is really amazing, and he's still making dough. He loves it. I think what I learned about John as well is like and a lot of people who are quite wired like him, energy wise, they need to be stimulated. They need something that like they need to be doing, and pigeons is something you can do all day long because there's just nonstop work to do with them. You have to get them right. It's like this these dog crufts shows you see, or like you can be stroking them, you can you can be cleaning the lofts, you can be feeding them right diets, you can be giving them, it's just flying them, letting them back in, and before you know it, it's time for dinner. The same goes for pizza. You can keep making dough. You get into a flow state. So yeah, I think that flow state is helps him. I don't know, just relax.
Hyper focus as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Name of it. Yeah, no, so like you had chatted to a bunch of different guys, maybe in like his club.
Yeah.
It takes a while, I think, to win the trust of people. And I think,
Mm,
like men of a certain age they're natural sort of storytellers in abstract ways, but they wouldn't necessarily be the most like naturally emotionally honest, Like it's
yeah.
not sort of bred into them from like men of a certain era. Like, I mean, he's definitely in the younger side of the people that are there, but
Mm.
like, how do you kind of coax that emotional honesty out of people like that?
Um, it's a funny one. I think that yeah, like probably there were some sets of characters or worlds that were harder to access than others in pigeon racing. In fact, the kind of old man scene in Dundalk, these like they look really tough on the outside. They're hard working class men with there's a reason probably there's 40 men in the club and no women. It's just that they're tough lads, like. But they're soft on the inside. I think all of them were all really really nice. A couple of them were shy or whatever, but they were more than happy to speak to me. So it really wasn't much work. I think they just want to get the sport out there. But when some of the like the higher end, the big dogs in the industry, the people who are worth a lot of money, they're harder to kind of convince to be in a documentary, and harder to they just be more controlling. I think I find that across the board when I work with characters, that people who kind of have it all are can be a little harder to get on screen. Um, and for good reason. Like I don't want to be the subject of a documentary. I don't know. But I think there's a real openness uh to those niche communities, and so I really feel at home in those worlds, that like whether I'm filming like boxing at the moment and stuff like that, and I just think I'm really fascinated by martial arts as well, and I always find those characters really open and easy to talk to about things. Um, so yeah, that's just an observation that I've kind of found through working with different types of people.
But that's probably a testament to you as well, is building that rapport and being there with them on the ground and, kind of like giving them an energy that they can kind of bounce off as well.
Yeah, no, like I definitely you kind of become you're in communication with these people, and like even John, I can really now call a friend, like uh but like in the process I don't want to be friends. I want to keep that professional barrier, but like I do we do talk a lot off camera and everything. You spend a lot of time with people, and you learn their ways, and kind of begin to understand them, and yeah, so I think that's probably the answer, is just time. You can't just rock in somewhere in a day, spend a lot of time going there without a camera, just a microphone, and so yeah, it's just a kind of lengthy process.
So it's also very stylish, the way that you've put everything together, the mood of it. What was the kind of mood book or your inspiration there, and how do you kind of make sure everyone's on the same page when it comes to creating that aesthetic?
Yeah, no, thanks. It's a tricky one, especially when you, like we set out with making it with, one cinematographer maybe. Um, and Narian did shoot a lot of it, and who's great, who's a really cinematic guy. And, we came up with a lot of ideas at the start together. But the with the pandemic, we had to shoot with so many different crews in different countries. So it's like, how do we kind of get them to tie into the style and everything like that? So yeah, you definitely need those mood boards. You need probably some sample scenes and that kind of thing. Interview framing, ideas and everything. But at the same time, like I like to, you can, for something like this, I think you have a bunch of ideas, but when you get to a certain location, you just have to make it work as well. So always be adaptable. There's all sorts of references kind of in the visual style, like from war films was a big one for me. It probably, a couple of people mentioned. I was like, great, it came through a little bit, but just pigeons were raced, save thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives in wartime. And I was looking at war movies and the way they frame things, and I kind of use a lot of low angles as a result, and it connects the sky. It kind of gives people this stature, and so there's kind of subtle references to war movies, and even in the music as well. Um, but yeah, the that, and just yeah, just working with really good DOPs, and keeping a good energy to the whole piece.
Sorry, so you said you had a bunch of different threads, and it took many different forms before. But like, when it comes to editing, do you edit in one block? Do you mentally
Yeah,
edit as you go along, or just take note as you go along? Do you sit in a
yeah,
room? Do you let the editor work separately?
yeah. I tend to, like, I watch all the footage myself. Whether either like after the shoot, depending how we're going. But I watch like every frame that we shoot, and then all the editing did happen in, no breaks, except for maybe a week or two. So it was a good few weeks, a good few months in the edit room, with Andrew, the editor, um, and yeah, I mean, really just lost our minds and kind of got engrossed in it. I was there a lot, like, not every day, but like, I like to be in the editing room. I'm doing some edits at the moment remotely, and it's different. It definitely gives my eyes break and more energy. Sometimes, which I'm liking, but just being in the room, even if like Andrew's doing a lot of the work and heavy lifting, my head's still in the game, and I'm trying to come up with solutions to problems, which kind of consistently present themselves. But yeah, it was definitely, it was a learning process in terms of like first film I made, having so many different characters, and I was thinking, will it work? How do I kind of gel them together? Um, but there's kind of, I think that's, you can write it on paper, but until you kind of edit it and try it and watch it, and the frustrating thing about making feature films is like it takes an hour and a half, or your cuts might be longer, 2 hours or 3 hours to watch, and that's half a day gone. So every time you go watch the thing, you have to make a load of changes, and so it's just consistent. It's a lot of work, but yeah. Once you get out of the editor room for a few weeks and you get to watch it in a cinema, it kind of pays off.
And how do you know like when you're like, okay, this is the best, we will get it. This is, unless we
Yeah.
go out and shoot a whole other thread, this is it. Do you just know in your soul? Do you just go like, how do you know you've kind of perfected it?
Just when the money runs out. That's true. Like, you could just keep going forever. I think it's so weird. You're always like, there's never a relaxed week in the edit room. It's just like there's just so much work to do always. There's so much footage, there's so much things to go through and things to find. And you're always just up against it a little bit. So you've been given deadlines, and that is literally kind of saying, we budgeted for this amount. There is this like word contingency which comes into play, and suddenly there's more time or whatever. Um, but I don't know. It you just kind of get it to a stage where you're happy with it. You're probably completely lost your mind, and then the producers who have and that ability to have a step back from it and watch it, and for them to be happy as well. So it is collaborative in that way. It's not just I don't just say I'm happy and done. It's kind of like a team thing.
And how do you sort of share the material then with the subject matter? Do you go, oh, maybe that might be a bit close to home, or like, do you kind of interact with the like say the likes of John and stuff afterwards and go, are you happy with this, or do you like to kind of keep it a little bit distant so that you keep your distance from the sub? Like how does that work as well? Because it like
Um,
it's personal, like it's a beautiful
yeah,
arc in his life.
yeah. Well, like there's too many people in this film for me to kind of show it to each
Oh
of them
yeah.
and then go, no, I
There's
want this
so
change.
many.
It would just be you'd never finish. So, it was just like they just kind of had to trust me. And John is just he's a very open guy. He said put it all on camera, even the personal aspects of his life. And so I wasn't really worried about showing it to him. Yeah, there's others who haven't seen it yet, still because it still hasn't made it to certain countries, and I'd love to know how they kind of perceive it. But in the pigeon industry, it's just like send me a DVD, and I'm just like, okay. Firstly, I don't even have it blank discs anymore, So yeah, the concept or we were trying to get them all into various film festivals to go see the thing, but and a few of them have, and they've all responded very very positively, thankfully. Some of them might be a little let down by like how much they're in it or not in it and this kind of thing, and I feel for you because it's like you film for 3 days and you only put in a little bit, and that happens. But you just have to kind of can't keep everyone happy.
Do you make this the sport, the hobby, the sport look
Yeah,
very
both.
cool? Yeah, like I mean, there's like a jet-setting, multi-million-dollar kind of like complex thing. Like, I mean, you really get the scale like when you go to Thailand and you see like the huge compound and the energy and
Mm,
the work that goes into everything, like and again like the different structures, like the fact that over there it's women are thought to care better for the pigeons. It's fascinating, like that different
yeah,
cultural relationship with.
yeah. That was a chance meeting actually. We were filming in a pigeon expo in Holland, and we saw the Thailand crew who were advertising their race, and I through a translator I was talking to them, and they were telling me that they had all women in the loft, and it stuck with me because it's just so many men in pigeon racing, and it's just doing something different. And then they're owned this race, the Pattaya International Pigeon Race. They're owned by like one of the richest men in Thailand as well. So yeah, it's weird. Like it's again, it's so weird. I haven't been there, but I know the place so well, and it's yeah, it really is like a temple or a palace for for pigeons. Top of the range stuff, and there's ones in China which are even more fascinating or kind of uh yeah, high end, but those ones are we really found it difficult to access anything in China. We managed to film an auction which featured, and but we had a lot of difficulty with Chinese characters because I think it's quite a shady world, and um gambling is illegal. There's a lot of gambling going on, and there's perhaps been some things made in the past which they weren't happy about. So but yeah, it's the industry is mad, it's yeah, there's a lot going on in it.
As you covered like probably a fraction of it, so dramatic.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you, given more time, would have liked to have covered, or are you like, no, no, I'm happy with that now. That's my that's my coverage of the pigeon world done forever.
Yeah, I mean, probably I'll give the topic itself a break for now as I move on to other topics. But yeah, no, there's always, we lost a few characters along the way, for various reasons. Probably, yeah, like I would have liked to maybe gone into the animal rights kind of aspect a little bit more. But really, it was just like filming in South Africa got so hard with coronavirus. So there's little storylines which kind of, yeah, I would have liked to pursue more. Um, and as I say, there's a character or two I lost, but as the film goes out, and they won't know. And I think of course you always have like little little mini micro regrets, but ultimately I think we're lucky that the people that we found and how it worked out.
So what you're saying is there's plenty material there for this Netflix series when that gets picked up. The pigeon.
Yeah, yeah, God. I mean, I remember someone telling me that they're like, "Oh, you need to make a series out of this," and I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna be in pigeons forever." Um, yeah, I mean, look, if Netflix are listening, let's talk. But I don't know. Hopefully, we can get this onto some streaming platform as well. But it's going to be playing across many television stations across the world, including like Japan and Europe and all sorts of places. So it's in good hands, and it's getting out there.
And have the hobbyists enjoyed it? What's their feedback on so
You
far?
wouldn't know. I'm gonna a few of the Conducting guys are coming to the screening on Friday in the Lighthouse. Yeah, it's they're so engrossed in their own world that like one one pigeon fancier invited him to one of the screenings. He didn't feature in the film, but like I just met him along the way, and I said, "Oh, would you like to come?" And trying to get pigeon fanciers involved. And just before the screening, he met me and he said, "So is my so and so club in it?" And I was like, "No, no, no, you're not in the film. It's just inviting." He's like, "Well, why am I here then?" So he just wanted to see his pigeon club on screen, and it never happened. So he was naturally disappointed. Um, but yeah, so some of them though, those are the pigeon fanciers who did really enjoy it, and they were giving really great feedback, which I was happy about because it's very hard to keep them all happy.
That's it. But it's like that when someone's so into something, you're like, I can never capture it just right or just so like, they're like, oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
wouldn't be done like that, or that's not exactly the way that is, or that's phrased slightly wrong, and you're like, because there's
Yeah,
so
it's a hard thing to explain pigeon racing. It's like we figured out somewhere along the edit that you could make a whole film about how pigeon racing works because there's so many intricacies to it. So we're just like, okay, we need to find the most succinct way possible of allowing the audience to kind of roll with it because it's like you're gonna have more questions after it, but there's probably enough information to get you through it without boring you. A lot of the pigeon kind of details are kind of quite technical.
yeah. And so going forward, would you do certain things before you pick a subject matter again? Would you like to take a break and go kind of back into like more kind of classic sports, or like
Mm.
would you love to go back into something so niche? Because again, like the characters are wild. What's your what's your kind of feeling coming out of this? As I'd like a break from this world now. I'd like to, jump straight into something else, or like that I'd like to follow a more simple narrative or
Um,
a taste for it.
yeah, no, I probably a bit of both because I mean, it's like I was saying about how long something takes to get made. If you have like an original concept, which is a little bit of a harder sell, or just needs more convincing, it's going to take a longer time to make. So I want to continue making films that are, hopefully nice and original, and keep challenging myself and improving and just trying to tell stories in different ways. But I also, like I'm doing one on I mean this kind of came to me, but it's on I don't know if you remember him, but Jonah Lomu, who's a superstar rugby player from the 1990s. He's passed away now, but he's one of the best rugby players ever, and I'll be doing a film on him. But he was like a hero of mine growing up, so it's just this like natural connection into like something I had to do. But sometimes people might get in contact to ask about certain celebrities that they might want to film, and I kind of have to kind of have a connection in some way, or to like the world, or to know about them. I think in order to do it, I don't just want to do any old person. So yeah, just basically as long as I'm kind of growing as a filmmaker, then I'm happy.
Thank you so much for chatting with us. It was a beautiful insight. It was just so dramatic. Who knew? Who knew about the pigeon world? But yeah, no, thank you so much for chatting with us. It was a great watch, and I'd say plenty of people will be very entertained, and plenty of people will probably have a little bit more insight as to why their dad or uncle are pigeon mad.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it explains a few things. No, thanks so much for having me, and hopefully people will get to see it in cinemas now at the end of this week. So yeah, thanks so much.